Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Kelly. This is A Life Well Spent, and on this channel I am documenting my financial journey. And I'm sharing with you things like my monthly budget. I'm actually doing weekly budget check-ins to help keep me on track, and I'm hoping that you all will keep me honest and keep me on track. I am apparently relying on the feedback of strangers to be like, hey, you go. But yeah, it's all about, finding ways to meet my financial goals through a budget. I do use a zero-based budget. This video today is actually a closeout of my February budget. So this particular template, this will be the last time I actually use this template. I really like it. It served me well for my needs at the time. I was using EveryDollar from Dave Ramsey. And I did like that. There were some things I didn't love, I didn't know quite how I could do what I was trying to do. But ultimately, I decided I did not want to keep paying like $130 every year for a budgeting tool. Like, it was great while I had it. I really did like it. I loved how it was easy to, kind of track your transactions and things like that. But ultimately, I knew that long term, like, budgeting is something, like, I've gotten into the habit. I really like it. I love what it's done for my finances and my ability to pay off debt and meet other financial goals of mine that I have. I actually was able to cash flow most of a graduate program. My employer paid for some of it, but not all of it. Maybe like 3 classes, and I had to pay for the rest, something like that. But I was able to cash flow that pretty easily without feeling a real pinch on my budget, because I actually had a budget and a plan and a process. And so I love it. And I know that I will do it every month, and I will do annual budgets, and all of that kind of stuff. I gotta get a little nerdy with the numbers. And I will do that for the rest of my life. So I thought, I need to come up with a better budget for myself, because I am not paying $129 to Dave Ramsey for the rest of my life. It's not gonna happen. Or for anybody. And like, not just, I'm not paying Dave. I don't mean like that. I don't mean anything against him. I'm not gonna pay somebody $129 for something that, like, I can figure out how to do myself. So that's where we're at. So I started with this particular template because one of the things that I noticed was I was having a problem tracking my spending once the pandemic hit, because I was really big on cash for the areas that I overspent. So for a couple of years there, when I was, coming up with a budget, I was doing cash envelopes, and that was really, really, really helpful for me. And I didn't do it for everything, literally just the areas where I had a tendency to overspend. So like restaurants, things like that, because I needed to change my own behavior. I needed to train myself to stop going out to eat more than you needed to, or to stop buying more food than you needed to and end up throwing some of it away and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of why I was doing it. And then with the pandemic going on, I thought, I don't feel like handling cash. Number one. Number two, I don't feel like going to the bank for more. Like, that's just one more place I have to go. Um, and I'm ordering a lot of things online now because of the pandemic, and I don't have a way to track that very easily, because I was tracking what I was spending, or rather not even really worrying about what I was spending on. I was just tracking how much money I had left. And my friends thought it was weird. They wanted to go out to eat, and I was like, oh, sorry, I've already spent my restaurant money. And they just kind of looked at me like, what? Why can't you do that? Because I'm trying to change my behavior, like, I may have gone out with them and like just sat there and drank water or something and thought it was weird, but I was like, listen, I got to do this for me. Because I definitely had a tendency to be like, it's Friday, I'm tired, I'm going to go out to eat. And I can't do that. Can't do that anymore. So, tracking like how much cash I had left was really easy. Can't do that when you're not really using cash because of the pandemic. So I thought, oh my God, I'm way overspending on things. Like, I'm not paying attention now to what I'm spending, and I need a way to track this that's more feasible. So I started with this template. This is from Budget Girl, and if you've not been to Budget Girl's channel, like, you should totally check her out and subscribe. She's awesome. She's been so inspirational for me, and she's still inspirational for me. But she had this, I know she has one that's like a bit more tweaked in her Etsy shop, but this one was like free on her website for a while ago, for a while there. I don't know if it still is. I don't know if you can still find it, or you want to get the one from her Etsy shop. By all means, like, buy the one from her Etsy shop. They aren't that expensive. I just kind of already had this one. And I really liked this because it kind of broke down every single category. And this was designed that like whatever's the total here feeds into the box here. So I really liked that. And it really helped me kind of keep track of what I was spending in each category. So without further ado, we'll go through kind of what's what. I've added some things. I will say most of it was just these trackers. I added pretty much this bit. um, so we'll start with my income. I actually, for the month of February, I had two jobs. I had a full-time job working with a school district, and then I taught social studies online with part-time with a cyber school. And so how I set this budget up was that my week 1 and 3 were like my regular job, and then my 2, 4, and 6 would be my part-time job, and these 5 and 6 really are just for 3 pay months, so it just was easier. So that just made sense in my head. So then I totaled, how much I was having in income, and then I have another section here, which again, I think this part is part of Budget Girl's template here, but I have any other kind of extra income coming in. So this month, my mother always gives me $260. That is so we had an agreement when I went to school that my parents would pay for my education. They wanted me to take out loans, but they've made the payments on them. And yes, I know I am so fortunate. I am in a very, very privileged place, but I'm also at a point where like, I know that if my parents, if both of my parents were to drop dead tomorrow, heaven forbid, please don't, that I would be responsible. They're in my name, so I'm financially on the hook for them regardless. And so I want to pay them off. I want to, I don't mind taking on some of that burden. So that's part of what I'm going to try to do. But as of right now, like they still give me the payment for it. My mother gives me $60 because we have a shared cell phone plan, and that's her portion of it. A friend reimbursed me for a gift that we bought another one of our friends who lost a parent to not to COVID, believe it or not, something else, cancer. He passed from cancer. So that all counts in extra income. I have a ticket reimbursement. There was an event that I bought tickets for. I actually ended up buying 4 tickets. I got 2 of them refunded when it got postponed, and now it's been canceled in the place that I was having it. So then they just mass refunded everybody, and that second part came in this month for a total additional of $394. So my grand total of money coming into me that I did not have at the start of February is $4,756.13. So I really love this block of her budget. She does what her regular expenses are, what her minimum payments are for her debt, and so has a minimum to earn. And I think that like if you're definitely having income that's not necessarily like steady every month, I think that's really helpful to know like where do you need at least to get to. So that's really great. So okay, we'll get into my budget. I do block off the giving. I have a couple of things set up for giving. I'm leaning pretty hard right now on a giving fund so that like if opportunities come up, I can give. There's a couple, I'm still in the process of like researching organizations that I want to give to directly, but I just have not really had the time to do it, to be honest. I'm finishing up my grad program and working a full-time and a part-time job. So yeah, just it is what it is. There's some that I know that I'm okay with contributing to, and I do, and then the rest it's more like putting into a fund, and if there's an opportunity to do it, I will. So, and that's actually kind of nice. It's nice to have that money, like somebody needs something and you can be like, hey, here's $50, help you out. And not worry about like, oh man, is that going to bust my budget? Is that going to be a problem? Like I'm going to move some money around, like, it's there and you can spend it. So my mortgage, $676.03. That includes PMI, insurance. I get my insurance and my taxes escrowed, and so it includes PMI, principal, all of that stuff. So yep, that's pretty cheap. It's a 120-year-old house. It should be. My electrical, $41.99, and my gas, $156.32. So it makes the most sense for me in my brain. I get my electrical bill and my gas bill at the end of the month, but it's due the next month. So technically this is the usage from January, and the bill came out like at the end of January and is due like February 10th. So it just makes it easier, I think, for me to budget, because I don't really want to have to come in here and say, oh, okay, well, I think it'll be like $45. And then when I actually get the bill, go back and say, well, no, really, it was only 41. And then, or I have to go, oh, I need to adjust because I underestimated. So it's just easier for me, since I know I have that and I know the money's coming out in this month, that it just gets included in this month as the part of the budget. My phone, $76.67. Again, my mom gives me $60 of that because her cost is $60. We had to get new phones when we switched to this new carrier. And we were leaving AT&T, and we were either going to go to Verizon or Xfinity Mobile. Xfinity Mobile uses Verizon's towers. So either way, we were going to have to buy new phones, because the type of phone that we had, for some reason, it was like 1 year of iPhone that, for whatever reason, it would not work on Verizon's towers. So whether we went with Verizon or with another carrier using Verizon's towers, we were stuck buying another phone. And I think the same probably would have been the case if we did like Sprint or something like that. And this plan was so cheap. So I ended up just buying my phone outright because I didn't want to make payments on it. My mom, however, did not. So a big part of that $76 is her phone fee. It's like $50 or something. So we split the fees. We split 1 gig of shared data. And that 1 gig cost us $12. And we each pay insurance on our phone. So I pay $12 for insurance for my phone. She pays $12 for hers. There's about $8 in fees, so we split those. And the line itself, there's no like actual like line fee. It's just you pay by the gig for your data, and it's $12 for 1 gig. So we split that. So I pay $22 of that $76.67. She pays the rest. And I'm okay with that. The reason we actually went with this plan, I mean, this was way cheaper. Like Verizon was like, we have this great deal for you, and it'll be a total of like $235. And we were like, are you crazy? That's not a deal. And that includes like a discount that my mother gets because of where she works. And I was like, that's not happening. So I'm the Xfinity customer, so I'm the one who has to have the Xfinity phone bill. So that's why she pays me. And ultimately at the time we were switching, my father had actually just had a really serious accident, and we were spending most of our lives either at work, where we were able to get on Wi-Fi, at home, where we were able to get on Wi-Fi, or at like the hospital visiting my dad, or at his rehab facility. So again, always able to connect to Wi-Fi, so we really didn't need data. So we went, let's go with the 1 gig of data plan. So that's why our cell phone is so cheap. Love it. I love it. It's been great. Sewer $58 and water $18.97. They both went up. Our sewer used to be a flat rate of $55, but they have done they put new lines in. And so I think that's why it's going up. But that's what's going to be. It's flat rate no matter how much you use it, which is kind of a pain because, I could have like 20 roommates and it'll still be $58. Same thing with water. The minimum is $18.97, and then after that it's based on usage, but I almost never even reach the minimum. I mean, seriously, not even like in the summertime when I'm watering my garden. So it is what it is. But that went up because, again, replacing water lines. So I just anticipate that that's going to be what it is, and then usually, like, I don't know, around the 5th or 6th I'll actually get my water bill. It is rarely ever anything different. I say that, but last month it was. Garbage. I actually only pay my garbage once a year, but I put the money that I would pay towards it in a sinking fund so that when it comes around, I don't have like $156 or something like that in December that I hadn't thought about planning for. So I keep it in my budget, but it actually goes into my sinking funds, and I track it in my sinking funds tracker. Internet and television, $118.52. I'm kind of contracted in until I think July, end of June. Maybe I think I can make the change. And my mom and I are kind of trying to figure out what we want to do. She's cut cable because hers was astronomically expensive, like obnoxious expensive. And so she's cut cable, and she's going to try to see if she can kind of get by with just some subscription networks or subscription services to be way cheaper. And I might try to do the same. I don't really watch TV all that much. I'm kind of okay without watching TV. Like most things that I would turn TV on and watch, I don't really care to watch. Um, I can wait till like it's on Netflix or something like that, or just go without. Like I'm fine with that. So I may end up also doing the same, but we will see. We will see. My dad has some really specific things he likes to watch, and if there were subscription services to those or that included those, that would be a little different. But oh well. So, groceries, I did really good on groceries this month. I only spent $80.31. In fact, I didn't even go last week at all because I was going to be heading up there Wednesday of this week. And I thought, I'm not going to go Saturday and then turn around and go back Wednesday. So I'll just do my grocery shopping Wednesday. And I managed for a couple of days. My car, I budgeted $296 and only spent $128.80. I filled up gas one time in February. Just the once. Which kind of cracks me up because part of what's included in that $296 is, if we go down to the corresponding color here, is my car insurance, which I pay twice a year, but I, just like with my garbage, I just set it aside in a sinking fund so it's there to pay. And I do like kind of a repair fee that includes like if I need to get an oil change, the money comes out of that. If I need to do my registration that year, whatever, it comes out of that. And there's my gas, $19. Kind of amazing, makes me laugh. So most of this like isn't actually even like spent. I've just taken it from my paycheck that went into my checking account and moved it into my sinking fund checking account. My life insurance, $7.50. That's a term policy through my bank. My personal expenses, $51.53. And this mom and dad and work category. So work, that's a joke. That's more for me to keep track of, like if I'm going to a conference and I'm getting reimbursed and things like that. Like I keep track of like what I should be getting reimbursed for and getting reimbursed. But it was there because I had hoped something would get back to normal at some point, but it's not. I took it out of my budget for next month. I'll put it back in if it needs to be at some point, but right now there's no way. Not until next year, probably. So it's out. The mom and dad, like, I don't really budget money for them, but it's more like, my dad has some trouble getting out of the house and things like that. And with the pandemic, nobody's really going anywhere anyway. But sometimes my parents will do like a grocery pickup at Sam's Club, and then I'll just go pick it up and they've paid for it. And other times, like, I will call them and say, hey, I'm at the grocery store. Do you need anything? Or, hey, I made a Sam's run last minute. Do you need anything? And they'll ask me, I'll get them some things. And I just track here, like, what I bought, what they owe me. So, because otherwise I will not keep track of it. And I'll have to, like, dig back through my bank, find receipts and be like, oh, yeah, this was like $50. So it's easy enough to just keep it here. House and Garden, $42.50. I bought myself some KN95 masks, and I don't regret that purchase at all. Restaurants, I only spent $16.18 on restaurants. Mostly because the last PT appointment I had, I mostly have been going like after appointments. I ended up, I'd called my mom and I told her that that I had PT and whatever, and she said, you know what? Like, I'm kind of sick of cooking this week. Like, when you go tomorrow, like, will you just pick us up dinner and I'll buy. So one of those, I would have had more restaurant expenditures, but she bought me dinner. Debt, I leave as those are the minimum payments that have to get paid towards my debt. That doesn't include any extra pay. Like, that's just the minimum part of it. And that's at $300 for a grand total of money spent. Money budgeted, $2,265. Money spent, $1,798.32. Difference of $466.68. Now, I do a zero-based budget, which means that before the month even starts, before I get the money that I earn in the month, I assign every dollar to a specific place. It always has a place to go. And for me, anything that I have left over out of my budget for right now, because I'm in a debt payoff, but pretty much goes towards any of my money goals at the time. So right now my money goals are to pay off my debt. So it goes to debt, which is fantastic. And see, I love how I can kind of track individual things here. I really liked that. But I feel like I've gotten a really good handle on like tracking my purchases and, being responsible enough to kind of come in here every week and write things down, or every couple of days or whatever. I'm getting really good at it. Um, and I think I've changed that habit enough that I can utilize something else. So I'm pretty excited about that. My nose itches. I'm so sorry. Like, this is gonna look gross, but it is. Um, so the new budget template that I debuted with my March budget is actually going to give me an opportunity to kind of put it in by date, because I'm also sort of curious to see, like, if there are times that I'm spending more money. And so, well, you can look at my March budget and see what that looks like. And I will be doing, kind of weekly check-ins. So on Sunday, I will do a budget for the week, because that's mostly what I've been doing in my channel to kind of keep me accountable, to make sure I'm tracking and make sure I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, because I was not, and I needed to do it. I think I started doing that in like December maybe, and it's been really helpful. So, I also added in here a sinking funds tracker so that I know what money is going where and how much money I have in those particular funds. If you don't know what sinking funds are, very briefly, they're just funds that you create for things that you have to pay every year, or things you're always going to have to pay for, and you don't necessarily need to pay for them consistently. It's not a monthly thing that you can just put in your budget. It's a thing that might come up at some point in the year, but that it's coming, so you can set a little bit of money aside for it all the time. So for me, like, I have a sinking fund for my garbage. I am going to pay that every December. So I'm going to put a little bit aside so that by the time December gets here, all the money's there. Same thing with my car insurance. I do a sinking fund for my escrow account, because, listen, if you don't own a home, you don't know this. But if you do, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Every year, you get that. If you own a home and do your escrow, your taxes and stuff, you get a statement that's like, hey, we overestimated how much you're gonna needed to be in your escrow account to pay all your taxes, so here's a refund. Those are rare in my experience. It's more, ooh, hey, your taxes went up and your insurance went up, so now you need to pay more money in. And they give you the option of like, well, we can just add it to your payment, or you can pay us it now, and then your payment doesn't really change all that much. And I would rather do that. I don't want my payment consistently changing. So I just put some money in there. Actually, that money is in there from last year, but because of the pandemic, taxes and everything dropped. Oh, there's a cute black cat out in the alley. Because taxes and everything dropped, that like I actually got I got a refund, and they actually lowered my mortgage payment, and I was like, no, that's never gonna happen. But that money was there because I was anticipating having to pay it, and I didn't. So I just kept it there. I thought, well, I'm probably going to have to pay it next year. I'll just leave it there. My certification, that's what my grad program is for. I have spent a lot of that because it required like almost $500 for a test. And, this basically is for like the rest of my licensing fees and things like that. So I just set that money aside so it was there and I didn't have to worry about it. I am putting money into a giving fund. Like I said earlier, I do kind of have a leftover cushion that was, I don't quite remember what it was, but there were other things that I had in a sinking fund that ended up not needing to be spent. So I had like this sort of leftover money, and it's just for there. I'm sitting at it as a cushion, but I'm looking at it as like I can kind of use it for just about anything. My car repair fee, my New Lion Club membership, it goes out once a year, and I just kind of pile it up. This year, or this month, my insurance comes out February and August for my car, so I put the $59 in that goes in every month, and I took $258 out because that dropped almost $75. So I'm gonna have some overage there, and that's just kind of another area where I feel like, if it's there, whatever. If I buy a newer car, because my car is like 12 or 13 years old. If I buy a newer car, I'm going to have to pay more in insurance. I figure at some point that's going to come out. It's not a big deal. It's not a ton of money. I did take $47.50 out of my giving fund. One of those is one of the things that I contribute to. I do $10 to, what comes out of there? Fair Fight, maybe? Comes out of that, and so that's $10, and then $37.50 I gave to a school fundraiser. I also keep track of my debt. So one of the really exciting things about February, huzzah, is that I paid off that last credit card. So I did a balance transfer to a credit card and a personal loan to get rid of like a really, really, really ridiculously high rate of interest on my Discover card. So, and then, paid off the Discover card. Fabulous. And I last month finished. I put a huge chunk in December on my personal loan, and I finished it off in January. And then I was able to pay the rest, put a huge, huge chunk in January on my Citibank bill. Like, it was honestly kind of painful to pay. And then that left me with $700. So 100 of that was the actual payment that I did every month. The current minimum payment on it was $75 because when it started, it was 100. So I just kept paying 100, and then it eventually dropped to 75. So I just left it. But I put the $100 on it. That was its normal payment. And then like halfway through the month, maybe when payday came around, I took the other $600 and paid it off. Huzzah. So all that's left, my student loans. And this PCERS thing, which if you are new here, I've explained this in the past, but just briefly, it is for, I actually purchased out-of-state years. I worked 2 years out of state, came in here, and then purchased those years in a pension. But I did not know that I could do that when I first moved. So it was probably like 10 or so years later. So it's expensive. And ultimately, like what happens is if I don't pay that, they'll take the value of it out of my pension when I retire. So part of me thinks like maybe I should just pay it so I don't have to think about it. But then the other part of me thinks, but if I just pile up that money and put it in like a mutual fund or something, I could probably be able to do at least as well, if not better, and then I keep all that money. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm not going to touch it until after my student loans are paid off anyway. So I have time to think about like what the best approach is there. So it's like sort of a debt, but it's not something that I pay on monthly. It's not set up that way. It's going to be like I pile up a lump sum and give it to them. I've honestly thought too about just like giving them the insurance so that all they take out is $17,000. We'll see. Who knows? It started out at like $15,000 like 4 years ago. 15 and change. Maybe 5 years ago. So it's not really terrible, but that's where that is at the moment. So with my money moves, my income minus my budget left me with $24.91.13. My leftover expenses, the money that I didn't spend at all, $466.68. And again, because I do a zero-based budget, it all goes somewhere. So for me, $600 of that went to the city payoff, which left me with $2,357.81. And that went to my student loan fund because I've thought about this and I've decided that I'm going to pile up money in a student loan fund. And the goal there is to have the money so that if within this year, by the end of the year, if there's no real movement on any kind of debt forgiveness or debt cancellation or anything, then I'm just going to I'll have the money and I'm just going to go ahead and pay it off. If there is, like, I don't want to pay $14,000 to American Education Services and then 2 days later find out, oh man, I would have gotten $15,000 to pay that off. Or, oh, they were going to forgive 10,000 of it. I don't want to do that. So, but I also don't want to keep that loan around forever. So I'm going to pile up the money. And then if by the end of the calendar year, there's really no movement on it and it looks like it's dead in the water, then I'll just go ahead and pay it off. And I'm sure at that point, because this is my luck, at that point, they'll be like, oh yeah, let's do that again. But I feel like if it's going to happen, it's going to have to be within the first 2 years of the Biden administration. If Democrats win more seats in the Senate at midterm, it might happen then, possibly. But if they lose seats, then it's never going to happen. So it's just is what it is. It doesn't seem like he is willing to do it by executive action, so he is leaving it to Congress. I don't think Congress is going to do it. I think they're going to both play the game of like, well, no, you should do that, you should do that, you should do that, and then nobody's going to do it. So it's kind of what I'm thinking, which is why I'm going to pile up the cash and kind of wait it out and see. But that's where I'm at. So all of that gets transferred into my student loan fund, and that is my February budget. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to know about me, about this budget, I can direct you to Budget Girl. I don't know if she still has this particular one though, but she has, she definitely at some point updated her budget template and put it in an Etsy shop. So I would totally check that out. But if you're just getting started, like ultimately find something that makes sense to you. If this doesn't make sense to you and doesn't work for you, that's cool. It did for me because it did what I needed it to do at the time. Since I wasn't using every dollar anymore to track my expenses, and I couldn't use cash to track like how much money I had left to spend in a particular category. So it worked for me for a time. It's I think that I've got the tracking, I've got the, all of that down. So I kind of want to do something that's a little bit more visually appealing for me. So that's where I'm at. So again, if you have any questions, comments, anything, let me know. If you subscribe, that would be great. I would love to have more viewers. I'd love to build a community here of supportive people. I am essentially, it's a lot of this for right now. It's a lot of budgets. Weekly check-ins, things like that. I'm going to do a video on my net worth update for February, which is the first time I think I've ever really taken stock of my net worth. Was probably like last month. I sort of played around with like what I would have to do to kind of build something out. But this month I really like actually looked in and tracked things. So I'm going to do a video on that. I'm going to do a wrap-up video for the week of the things that I've spent money on. And, we're just going to talk about money and ways that we can do the things that we want to do and spend our lives the way we want to spend them and not worry about money in the process because we got a good handle on what we're doing. So thanks so much for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.